Yo, 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 yo.
Heyo.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the fuck back.
Another beautiful Tuesday.
It's Tuesday once again, folks.
It's Tuesday.
And you're tuned into the Producer Lounge. The Producer Lounge. Folks, it's a big day. We have a delivery. Oh, that's a good catch.
Good throw.
We had
Thank
a
you, AT.
Quick nicotine delivery there at the beginning of the pod. Folks, this is the Producer Lounge. Sounds like what it is. We're going to talk about music production for a good while. We might talk about psychedelics. It might happen. I don't know. But preferably we'll keep it to drums or frequency shifters or things like that. Sub-drops. And folks, it's episode 157. It's a big episode. We have a dream guest on with us today. The one and only Keota.
Oh, shit.
Welcome, buddy. Welcome.
Holy
Thanks for having me.
Folks.
I just realized you guys should have wore your new Keota merch.
I thought about it, but if we don't all four wear them...
Then I'm the weird one out.
Right, and it makes you look like
true.
the guest.
So
Yeah.
Where if he's the one wearing it, it's...
Oh, it's
obvious.
on another episode. We don't need to all do it today.
Right.
It's just going to be it's now in circulation.
Correct.
Yep.
Next week I'll
On
wear
the
it,
podcast,
and then Dave will wear it, and then
we'll just
Austin
keep the
will wear one.
representation going.
And when our next guest comes in, we'll have them wear it.
Oh yeah.
No, you have to wear the
we
Keota
got
shirt.
this Keota merch
the
for you.
guest.
Anyways, Tom, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good,
I
dude.
had probably too much caffeine before coming.
Hey, that's all right.
That'll happen.
Get all pumped up for the pod.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
heart's probably like 210 BPM.
Oh, get some gabber going in here.
Yeah.
The weed is already wearing off, which is good.
I was gonna say, if you need to, you can go bring it over here if you want.
Oh no, I'm probably good. Thanks.
Okay. Well, sick. Welcome to the Producer Lounge, dude. It's great to have
Going
you.
down.
Yeah. It seems like a nice little spot here. Good thing you guys got going.
Yeah, hey,
it's fun.
Thanks.
Slowly developing over time. Like we're figuring it out.
Yeah, you know a little bit about this. You've been doing lessons for a very long time, right? Like, how long have you been doing
Probably like 6
Teaching.
years.
teaching? It seems like,
I'm
6
trying to
is
think.
a good amount.
It's probably 2018 or 29. It was 2018, I think. I think the first lessons I did was when I was in Ireland with Morgan, because she had like a scholarship to go to school there for like one semester.
Fuck yeah.
In Dublin. It was fucking really expensive. I can curse, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cool.
You can say whatever.
Yeah, cool. It was really expensive. We stayed at an Airbnb that charged per person and not like the amount of time.
Ew.
So we were way out of our means, basically, but it was such a, like, overall, it was a fucking cool experience, obviously.
Sure.
But I brought that up because that's when I started
Teaching.
Yep.
doing lessons, remotely.
Right, you're scrounging, you're grinding.
Yeah, just like freelancing.
grinding.
Yeah, and trying to basically beg without appearing as though I'm begging.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which my mother actually was, she gave really great advice on that front. Like, she basically was just like, my mom's all like, kind of entrepreneurial brain and stuff, and she's always like had her own like little stores and stuff. Some of them more like successful than the other, but I've always admired her like integrity and like stubbornness. But she I brought my mom up because why?
Because entrepreneurship, she gave you advice.
Oh yeah. To never seem desperate. You don't ever want to look desperate.
Yeah.
That's fair.
You gotta look strong.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Gotta portray
Yeah.
the image.
Yeah.
No, it's
Let's
fair.
go, Mom.
You gotta look like your product is good. You know?
Right.
Yeah. So
Fake it till
That's
you
why
make
we
it.
put all these lights in here, you know?
That's why we put up these shelves. That's why we sacrificed CDJ 3000.
We're not
for this.
making
Yeah.
money off this, but maybe we could.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the confidence at least.
No, it definitely looks solid. But
Oh,
yeah,
we're making shitloads of money off this.
I had the same kind of like approach, I guess. Like, if I do stuff, I want it to look like
Right.
or sound
Just
a certain way.
professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Especially like with someone at your level, you almost have to maintain that image. Like if you just throw some shit out, people could be like, "Oh wait, what is this? Why
Yeah,
is he
yeah.
going this direction? What
Yeah.
the fuck is this?" Like,
Something like half-ass or whatever.
Right.
Also,
right.
even just like lighting is like such a huge thing that
It's
I think so
the
many
biggest.
people don't even like. You could have like kind
It
of a
makes a
shitty camera
massive
too.
difference.
Yeah, it seems like it almost is like the equivalent of like acoustics and like your room and treatment and stuff. Like
Diffusers, bro.
and yeah.
And it's also just as difficult to nail down.
It's also
Like lighting is. It took us so long to figure out how to do this without it shining in our glasses the whole time. How to get the green screen, even though the green screen's fucking up over there.
Yeah.
How to like just nail it down. It's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, especially if you're
worth
dealing
it.
with different space,
Right.
small spaces and whatnot. That doesn't help.
it's real. It's just like it's very satisfying to like get the lighting down though, and just to like see what you can do with it. Like I have like couple lights, like 2 tripod, little teeny. They look like like this big.
Are they some LED pads? Just the
yeah,
the
I guess
row of LEDs.
Yeah. Like a little rectangle, and like a USB-C thing. The battery will last like maybe a couple hours on like full brightness, and then I have like another. I don't know what it looks like, almost like a little TV screen, like a 12-inch or something, but
Nice.
it's just like a flat white. Like they're all daylight, or I
Right.
think that the tripod ones have cool different colors, but like I need them for the white light or the daylight at least. And if I were to have some cool colors, which I would like, but also it's just like really hard to justify like buying
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like beyond like what is necessary. But when I do mess around with the different colors and shit, I'll like be feeling like Bo Burnham. Like, wow, this is like
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Like, ooh, moody.
yeah.
Let's do a
Amazing.
blue today on my left side.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty stubborn about light bulbs being smart and shit, and like most of the rooms that are hung out in the most in the house that I live in have smart lights. I think like LifeX bulbs. And I have the Bezzy balls, the Amazon, the Alexa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I like to call them
The
Bezzy balls.
Bezzy balls. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Bezzy exclusive, Bezzy premium.
Bezzy premiums, dude.
But it's like that shit has to like connect. John's got it locked down. Like
He
Restraint
does have it
has
locked
it
down.
locked
His
down
studio's fucked.
beyond, and he's got like a Raspberry Pi.
I know.
Like for
I know.
I don't,
Out of control. Just like so I can walk in and it's basically the smart home from the Disney show. It just can't remove trash from the floor. That's the only thing it's missing. It can't clean up after a party.
Speaking of Restraint, I was going to bring up we are in contact with you because of Restraint.
Shout out.
Hell yeah.
In general, just kind of in life, and like that connection happened before this connection happened. And like you have been so fucking dope for him, and I know you feel similarly toward him, but like I appreciate it very much. John's a very, very good friend of mine, so it means a lot to me.
Hell yeah.
It always has.
Yeah. No, John's the freaking best, and I feel like I freaking hit it off with him like right away.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
I still remember one set at the Black Box, and it was either your birthday or his birthday.
It was
But-
his
I
birthday.
think it was his. Yeah.
Was it his? Yeah. And you came out with a party hat, and he like wore the party hat.
Yeah,
As
you
awesome.
strapped it on him. It was good. That was good.
Yeah, that was great.
That was a great time.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Didn't John have a question for Keota?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had the same question,
Yeah, which is hilarious.
which is we just want to talk about getting slappy drums.
yeah.
Oh,
How do
yeah.
we get the drums?
Your drums are the fucking.
What's
sounding nice?
in
What is
one
the-
sentence? Sum up.
You get 3 words.
I'm just kidding.
No, feel
well,
free to philosophize.
If I had to in one sentence,
Ooh.
it would
Clip.
be. I mean, it would be. Yeah, but no compression, pretty much a lot of the time, and or. See, I couldn't do one sentence.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah,
I know,
no,
it's
it's
hard.
fine. Let's go deep. I want to go so deep.
Well,
Yeah, that's what we do here.
I feel like the way I learn, the only way I seem to learn anything is by going from like one extreme to another, and like I think that I rely on stuff that I at one point find really new and exciting. I end up sort of resorting to more routine use. And then I sort of get like these blind spots that get created where I like don't realize I'm just doing the same shit. So then depending on, I mean, it could be anything, like any one thing in particular. But so I used to put a bunch of shit on groups, like all types of stuff. But I'll narrow it down to nonlinear plugins. So like any plugin that messes with or changes the dynamics of a sound or adds any harmonics. So like compressors, distortion, saturation, multiband compressors, limiters. I think clipping as well technically is in there. But I would argue that like a hard clip is like kind of the most linear of all of these different nonlinear things. Or like the equivalent limiter with like hold on, I gotta take a little sip. I'm getting
You're good.
Oh, you're good.
Cheers,
Oh, you're good.
everybody.
We already got multiple rabbit trails to go down on. Continue, please.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I've one day when I was still drinking a lot, I don't know if I actually let me start over. When I was drinking a lot, I think I was cutting a lot of corners in general, and I maybe had a certain level of hubris in my like understanding, or like maybe arrogance or overconfidence with like my I understand how a compressor works or a multiband compressor, so
Sure.
I'll just fucking put it everywhere because I understand how it works. But then like I would basically end up with like groups and groups and groups and groups type shit with like a bunch of different nonlinear plugins sometimes on the groups, but particularly like and most specifically multiband compressors and like limiters and stuff. But not that I got any problem necessarily with like using limiters on groups or clippers because I pretty much put them at like every stage.
Yeah, right.
But the multiband stuff, especially whether it's a multiband compressor or even just a compressor, to have those types of things, especially on groups, and specifically like the sort of, I guess, I don't know, doing it prematurely maybe, or something, or like maybe before, say, even just like choosing the best possible sample that you could, or like, you know, not settling basically, like whether it's for a drum loop or a snare sample or...
So like, yeah, multi-band compressor on the drum group, like when you haven't really even like refined the sounds a bunch. You're just throwing them on there to grab a little extra.
Yeah, almost like because it's like in the short term, it's like easier than perfecting it. So
I have
like,
this problem. That's why I know.
But what happens, especially when there's that happening at like on every stage of, you know, many groups and groups type of a situation. Otherwise, really simple fucking mixing problems that commonly present themselves that would take like fucking 2 seconds to address become this like insanely tangled fucking web of like considering all these other fucking things, like, oh shit, yeah, I do have a compressor on this group and a multiband compressor after that, and then it's in this group that's also got fucking shit in it too. So then like what the phenomenon I remember specifically is like trying to make a mix level adjustment to like just any given track and like changing it by like, you know, 12 or 20 dB and not hearing a difference.
Right.
Really.
Because there's so many compressors just squashing it constantly.
Yeah. So it just the more nonlinear plugins there are on the more stages there of gain, it's just like an order of magnitude longer to just like fucking move forward in regards to like any mixing decision basically becomes like something that could take fucking hours and then have you hate the whole fucking thing.
Oh my God, right?
Yeah, I stopped using compressors pretty heavily just maybe 8 months ago. Like
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
pretty recently, I
You
was
have a
like,
shirt that says "fuck compressors."
No.
It might be like a year and a half.
yeah, my mantra actually just recently, as after watching a Tom Finster mixing masterclass, which was fundamentals only, which was great to hear. I was like, oh, I need to remember all these things. Is basically if it's really slow, sure, a compressor is great. Yeah, like the fastest thing is our voice, kind of at the most, and then anything faster than that, that's not a transient, you can use a limiter on. It's a little bit of a safer choose for a gain reduction, and then anything super fast, just clip it. Like, and then just take that kind of rule of thumb all the way up. And I was like, that's really nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'd never thought of it like that.
Yeah, they're all different speeds. They're all different gears, all the way up to the
Yeah, that's a fun way to think
clipper.
about it, right?
And once you're at the clipper, shit's moving fast.
Yeah, I
Is
find
that
myself
6th gear?
getting my tune like nice. I'm not putting group effects on super
Yeah.
early
Yeah, it's about when. It's really what it boils down
for
to. yeah.
sure. But when I want to get a print just to listen to in the car, I will just quickly go and throw a bunch of shit on all the groups, and then I'll just turn them off.
Yeah,
again, and then
Yeah,
just keep fucking with it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'll definitely.
No, yeah.
It'll happen.
Something I've been trying to like play with this idea, and I can't exactly figure out how to make it work like the best way. But I've been trying to process my transients versus the body and like my snares differently, specifically on like buildups or intros compared to the drop. I'm trying to like find a way to like push them back a little bit, just so when the drop happens, like the snare pops through a little bit more. But it's so weird
Couldn't
because
you
like
just turn them down a little bit?
you could, but I'm trying to have fun
Oh, I
and
see.
be
I see.
creative, Caleb.
Can you say that
be
again
simple.
in just other,
Yeah, of course.
I need another run too.
So essentially, the concept I'm trying to play with is processing transients different than the body. So let's say a snare, for instance, right?
I feel like Mr. Bill did some on this recently.
Oh, did he? Oh, I should
but,
watch that.
But like doing it on the master, I think, with like shaper boxes in like parallel.
Whoa.
Oh God, he would.
Where like it's triggered by MIDI elsewhere somewhere in the tune. I mean, I was just messing around with it today, like not on the master, but like I was just trying to make kicks, and I feel like I actually managed to make kicks I didn't
Let's
hate.
go.
Yeah.
Dude, that's hard. That's a hard thing.
Yeah, well, because I'll go like years without really making any new like meaningful progress in the way of like synthesized kicks that I like. But like
Feel that.
if I really sit down and I'm like, okay, like, and also it's not, sometimes it is just like a roulette where like maybe just that day there's no good kicks in me.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's possible, right?
Yeah.
You're not in the kick
mean,
headspace.
Yeah, it's not only possible; it certainly will happen.
Oh, yeah.
regularly.
Yeah.
Just well, I'll deal with the kick another day. I
Yeah,
guess.
that's why
I don't know.
I just use kick too. Just
Yeah, so I'm trying to take that concept and like implement it where it's like the transients are different in the buildup than like the drop snare. Let's say you use the same snare, and I'm trying to find a way to like tone it down or tuck it or like do something fun so when the snare finally comes in, it just thwacks you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's been fun. Like there's I don't know.
What are you using for synthesizing snares, or like what's your approach to snares, I guess?
So I've tried to make snares before, and I've put a decent amount of time into learning it, but like I just never I never get anything good, you know? And I get things that are like, oh, that's like usable, you know? But then I go find like a pack I like or a snare I like, and I'm like, fuck, that one is so much better, god damn it.
Yeah, it's that also like it is fucking something that just seems eternally hard.
Eternally.
Unless
Yeah.
I literally just made, if that was my job, like only making snares.
oh God.
I imagine I would probably be better at it because I like that's like half of knowing something and understanding something is also sort of like the repetition.
Oh my God,
And,
yeah.
and like that part of you just kind of atrophies when you're not like doing it. So like even though it's like I know like I know all the things that go into like making a snare or layering a snare. It's like it's hardly any different. Like from a fundamental point of view, whether you're like synthesizing a snare or you're just layering different piece of audio, it's
making like a Franken snare.
It's hard. Yeah, exactly. It's they're equally as difficult or effortless depending on.
Yeah, to get sonically well.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it does come down to like how you're picking up the sonics. If you haven't practiced really honing in on where your snare should sit coming into your head, then you can't come back to it and you're off base.
Yeah. It's also really weird how like some sounds will work in the song you're working on because you just spent a million hours like crafting all those sounds to place together. And you think like, oh, this is just like a good snare or a bass one shot or whatever. And you go to use that same exact sound in another project and it just sounds like ass or sounds super out of place. Have you guys ever had that?
Sure.
Do you use, I guess I know you two don't use the same sounds a lot, but do you ever
Say
that kind of thing?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
So if you have like a bass sound in one project and you're like, oh, this is a cool sound.
Yeah.
I want to make another song with the same bass.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then it just doesn't work for some reason.
Yes, totally. Right. Well, because I do try that a lot where I almost sort of look at it as an alternative to having templates or presets even, just going in the browser in Ableton. And also because I never press Control S basically. I basically only ever save as, and I have my own like numerical whatever system.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
nice.
like nothing innovative. It's just like 1A. I'll usually do one without a letter, and then I'll do 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D.
Right, different renditions of this one.
Yeah,
different renditions of it
You go
completed a little
deep.
more.
But then sometimes I'll add another iteration if I branch off. And like, so a lot of my tunes are like sister, cousin, fucking like father, uncle, like
I can't do that.
Like where it's like not like a linear family tree.
Right. No, I understand.
There'll be bits and pieces from like.
I love that shit.
And it's because, it's because usually when it happens, it's either like I'm demonstrating something like in the context of a lesson, or I'm like. Or maybe I'm streaming and I'm like really just trying to get something quick, or it's just like in the moment I'm like, if I have an idea and I just know, or like especially if it's right after like I make a successful drum kit or like a successful like a bass sound that I like. I don't do it as often actually with bass sounds. I I might for kind of more low mid bass sounds, like more things that are basically just more like a sub. But for, not like I would honestly give a fuck, like, because I think it could be really sick to do that with any type of sound. But I most commonly do it with drum stuff because, like making a fucking like decent sounding drum kit, I also like find somewhat difficult sometimes. I guess like depending on,
it can be,
but
satisfying as fuck when it's there.
Oh yeah,
oh my god.
But the greater context also of like having the more thing, or like to a point, the more things that there are in a mix, I feel like sort of help contextualize everything and like sort of find a path forward in terms of like how to like mix it and make it sound and whatever. Where like sometimes if I'm just working with like two things or like a few things, and especially like if maybe some of them aren't meant for each other, then it's just like the fewer components there are, then any number of them not working together is just a greater portion of the total everything.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, if you got a bunch of layers, even if like, there's like 3 layers and that's one thing, whether it's like a snare or a bass or something like that, the more layers you have, the more chances you have to make them fit around each other. In a way.
Yeah. And it can be sort of, sometimes it's like elusive, like when there's a problem, like if something doesn't work. And I think maybe it is just a matter of like, maybe this sample, like I'll often like just, I have like a vinyl library of stuff that I got from this dude who used to run a website. I think it might still be up, Vinyl Frontier.
Oh yeah, I was going to say Vinyl Frontier. Yeah, it is up, but I don't know how well maintained it is anymore.
Yeah, like I guess when you
I'm
subscribe,
gonna have to get that pack from you.
it was like I'll share it.
Let's go.
I was subscribed for 2 months. I think it was like $30 a month, and like
Yeah, I think it was.
each month he did many different albums. Honestly, I feel like some of it the dude was probably ripping from YouTube. Otherwise, I don't really understand how or why he would be like, because there's plenty of them are MP3s, like maybe half, and that would just seem like a weird thing to do. To like, I don't see someone going to a record store
And then ripping it onto
and then-
MP3.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any
yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
but either,
gross.
Yeah, I appreciate
If that
the,
is what you're doing.
well, yeah, like if, yeah.
Ew, dude.
Ew. Hey,
Some-
you had the opportunity to go fucking anything else.
yeah.
But maybe he's just throwing it because he is like half of it
Sure.
does seem to be like
Yeah.
and I assume that I don't know, but I assume that he was for sure crate digging at
God
one
bless
point.
the
but
man.
because I could see it being as like, here I crate dug all these records, but then also here's records that I can't crate dig that are still sick, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Or he
fair.
like can't find a good copy of them, so he's like, the YouTube version MP3 is still better than this trash version I have off this record that's super fucked up. Like, who knows? Speaking of mixing, though, we were talking about that for a second. I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you keep everything in the mix so separated. In my brain, the first two things that come to mind are obviously it's all in audio stems, so you can chop all unnecessary tails and things, / just arrangement in general, making sure everything has very specific slots for everything.
Yeah, are you doing
But-
like a convolution thing to kind of
Right.
try and
Or do you
separate
just like
shit
practice the
out?
dark arts and you just cast some sort of spell
Yeah,
over Ableton?
You don't even know
You're just
that
like,
you're doing
Are
it.
you a warlock?
Yeah.
Back to the like going from one extreme to the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think like early on, one of the most common almost like symptoms of like a novice producer is just like way too much fucking reverb on stuff.
Yep.
And I think that I basically bounced back the total opposite direction from that and then never recovered. Where
I'm in the midst of recovery myself right now.
like my shit's really dry, like in
Yeah.
a vacuum, and where to the point where I'll like just forget to do any reverb basically sometimes.
Right.
But
Okay.
a lot of the times though, there'll be wet stuff happening.
Correct.
But it'll be like I don't do it as much nowadays, honestly. Like I guess nowadays I do seem to almost focus more on like the composition, I guess, like at the end of the day, than I do, I don't know, mixing or sound design. Like, because sometimes the problem is composition.
Correct. That's
like,
your first line of defense.
Well, and because like you can't fucking EQ a bad interval. Like,
No.
like a certain interval just has certain fucking maths in it, and EQing it, like our brains are still gonna hear the dissonance and like the offness
in the harmonics.
Yeah.
You go up that like half
That is
step or
such
whatever.
a good point.
That is
Yeah.
a great point. Yeah.
And if you have a
Holy
bunch of
shit.
things bleeding into each other that aren't tonally in line, then yeah, you get a bunch of like weird masking and or doubling.
So if you have something that's doing that like clash, you either obviously just replace the sound with something else, or maybe like doing some kind of pitching or something maybe to it.
Yeah, I mean, or having it like, because I think like a nice middle ground between do I have some reverb all the time is maybe I have a lot of reverb only some of the times. And what did you ask me?
I'm also gonna have a hard time with this. The middle
fucking
ground,
stoners over here.
the middle ground between, like, we have the harmonics are clashing, so you can either change the sound to make the harmonics work together.
Oh, yeah.
Or there's some other
Pitch it.
move that you might do to try and make them work together.
Sometimes it's also a matter of just when stuff happens too. So like,
yes.
like just not having
Making them happen at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's I guess what I was getting at with like the a lot of reverb some of the time instead of a little all the time is like, if there's like a certain element I'm like not sure of and I'm like apprehensive to delete it or remove it. I'll like at least maybe try, among many other things, mixing things or maybe pitching it, depending on what it is. I guess I could also see that, like, I'll basically try anything as a potential solution to like a crossroads that I'm at. But yeah, composition in like a sort of, I guess, a vague sense is like the first place I look. And yeah, like when stuff happens also. It's kind of trippy. Like if you, like, I don't know if you, like,
I would call that arrangement.
uh-huh.
When
Yeah.
stuff happens is the arrangement, and how stuff happens is the composition. Kind of.
Yeah, it's all a puzzle. I remember first learning, like, oh, here's like
Jazz,
the
baby.
mixing side, here's the composition, here's the sound design and everything, but they're all like, they all coexist together and need to work together inherently.
Well, like, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Go for it.
I only as recently as a couple years ago, maybe a few years ago, did I feel like competent and sort of confident and sure of myself. And
Let's go, boy.
In
Let's
regards
go.
to like what I know
Yeah.
versus like against like the average human.
I hope I reach that one day.
And it was sort of, I mean, it probably had a lot to do with like me quitting alcohol, which like I spent a lot of time also.
Clarity.
Like, a lot of time I spent basically just like useless, at least probably 6 hours of most days. So afterwards I had basically like a personal renaissance period. And I think there's this thing, it's like a German early 19th century German philosopher thing, and then later a Marxist thing called dialectics. And it has like a few different aspects of it, like 3 different tenets. But one of it is quantitative changes into qualitative changes. And the best example that I can think of to sort of illustrate it is like, at what point does a man become bald? At what point, how many hairs must a dude lose on his head in order for us to deem him bald? Each individual hair lost is like a quantitative change happening within a larger finite system. And then the qualitative change, like a more meaningful shift, like liquid water into boiling water is another example, where you have, I don't know, fucking chemistry or whatever the fuck you
Thermodynamics.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's molecules flip in their phase or their polarity, or something like that.
Right, there's no line.
But yeah, it's like I know that it's a bunch of little particles or molecules getting hot, almost like
Getting
bouncing
excited.
around.
behaving as though they're hot. And once enough of that happens, it turns into steam. But in the middle of that process, there's like almost a violent kind of reaction or whatever.
The churn.
That's another like part of dialectics also. But and I brought that up because we were talking about becoming confident in myself.
Yeah.
Oh, because
Yeah, like where I think that on average, right out of the womb, I basically just assumed and always have until recently that everybody else knew better than me about everything.
I feel
and
your
anything.
Yeah.
And also with music, especially in the greater part of the scene and community or whatever, like maybe I felt sort of good relative to like people in my hometown and my like high school and stuff and whatever. But I basically needed to almost reach my 30s to have like, just like the hairs on the bald man, on a later to be bald man's head, I met enough people that where I like, just discovered that I was the more knowledgeable one, that where it eventually like tipped the scale and I like realized like, oh, like maybe even if it was like 51% of all the encounters I ever had was like that.
So then now that you're on that pedestal, you look at everyone under you and you're like, fuck you, dude. You suck.
Yeah. So I still, because
Stomp on them.
I don't know what causes, someone like me to approached life the way that I did, there's, many numbers of factors between like where I grew up and my parents and, like my town and the school I went to and all the things I discovered and all the little things that happened along the way. But what was I fucking saying?
You chose it in another life in our reality, but
Yeah. And also there's that weird like juxtaposition. Like there is a point where you start to get like good at making art, and it's hard to accept at first, and you're like,
Well, yeah, the
or
imposter.
at least I'm sure it's hard to accept, and then
It's
you're like, wait,
hard
I am
and
at this
good to
level where
accept.
like everybody locally like kind of looks up to me. I'm like doing all these insane things.
Maybe it's just a bias because it's my own experience, but like I feel like I would prefer it be this way, where I always sort of carried that assumption.
Agreed.
And then only later come to find that maybe I was deserving of not doing that to myself like all the time, because it can also be like not a great feeling too.
Yeah,
sure.
Like a lot of the times,
Sure.
like where it's a.
I think
fuck
some
me,
amount of
I
it.
suck. I'm ass.
Some amount of it is good. I
Yeah,
think though,
no,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
fire
Yeah.
under your ass is
Yep.
healthy.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
The underdog spirit is very important.
Yeah.
Like that's
yeah.
how anybody gets anything done
Yeah.
in terms of like personal growth.
It's absolutely a good thing, like at its core.
Yeah, but it can be abused, like
yeah.
most things.
Yeah.
With skateboarding, you a lot of the time see this thing where when someone gets really good and they start to get recognized and they're an AM, they push really, really, really hard because the next
What's a
step.
AM?
So an AM is like
Amateur?
amateur, the step under being like a pro skater or whatever.
Okay.
You know. So when people start to get like that recognition of I am AM, they push really hard to try and get to that like pro spot, and then you see when people hit that level, they kind of like slowly just plateau over time. So it's always way more fun to watch the AM skaters because you can see that drive and you can see that like push.
Right.
They're not
You don't
they're not
wanna-
on their throne yet, and they don't
Yeah,
have to like
Yeah.
they don't get to relax yet. You know.
Yeah. Well, and
They're breaking their ankle.
because
Yeah.
I still try and treat people like like they have like
Something
basically
to
under the assumption that they
teach
have
you.
something to offer. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Always.
Because like.
Perspective is nice.
Yeah, like literally, even if it's just the angle that someone's coming at from not knowing something, and almost sometimes, especially when that's the case, like, it's like for any fucking sad people that say shit like those who can't do teach. I feel like the joke's on them because
Yeah.
when you do
Teach, you
lesson
learn.
stuff, it's mutually beneficial. Plus, you also like can potentially make money doing it. So
Right. It is lucrative.
True.
Speaking of lucrative things,
Well, maybe not lucrative, but
it's
you know,
pretty.
it's a teacher's wage, let's say.
Yes. But speaking of teachers' wages, what are your favorite go-tos for width? This has actually nothing to do with teachers' wages.
Yeah, I was listening to some tunes earlier, kind of trying
not
to...
that kind of width.
I was trying to understand what I really wanted to ask, and I was noticing, and it kind of goes along with the drums. It's probably basically the same question as all the other questions, but it's like the spatialness in the songs is really nice, and it's like there's like clear things in different areas, and yeah. So how do you deal with that?
So kind of just like with reverb and also composition with
contrast.
like whether things are happening all the time or a little bit or just sometimes and a lot. What was it about?
Width.
I like almost as an exercise, like from not an exercise, I guess, like I sort of start like my general approach is like to focus on the mix and the composition. So like in that sort of same vein, like one of the things that I guess just don't do right off the bat, but as I'm talking about this, I wouldn't be surprised if I like later go like, and I like maybe try and do some wide stuff because my shit's real dry, but also pretty mono most of the time. And if there's wide stuff, it's because I found a sample I liked and I just so happened to like it. It just so happened to also be wide, and maybe I wasn't even thinking about it. and because most of my basses are pretty mono in the synthesis part. Like also, I like, you know, I mean, I'm not making any comments on as to whether that's, you know, good or bad to have wide or not wide
matter.
basses. Yeah. But like, I just so happen to have been doing a generally nearly a mono approach, especially in my like synthesis, but also with like other things I don't really consciously add width unless like I guess if it comes to me, I'm like, like maybe this would be really sick being wide or something. But like, or in breaks or fills or like little pockets, like I guess like little syncopated. I think I'm using that right because I feel like everybody fucking uses that word.
Dude, I syncopate all the time.
Yeah.
Every morning and night.
Go away.
I'm pretty sure it's the rhythm between two rhythms.
Dude, but honestly, synchronization, the opposite of that, is the shit. It's my favorite thing of all time lately.
What is that?
Everything
So-
just synchronizing.
Yeah, instead of having like your hi-hat on the like 8th beat and then you have like your polyrhythm bass doing like, that would be the synchronization, right? So synchronize,
The
your
syncopation,
snare
right.
and your basses will just like hit for a phrase in your fill or something. So you just make that little like...
Oh, they all like hit
Everything
together.
hits at the same time.
Right.
So is it
Yeah.
almost as though it
very
were
jazz.
a sample that you're like
Right, hitting back,
like on a,
back.
Oh, yeah.
controller?
Right,
yeah, actually,
right,
exactly.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Exactly.
And it's
So that's actually what I'm.
It's like a rave stab.
I mean, I do that as well consciously. I didn't know there was a word for that.
I
That's
didn't either
cool.
until like a year ago. Eos told me, and he was like, "Oh, that's that," and I was like, "Oh."
Also, John is in the chat, and I like
Sennheiser,
every time
yes.
I noticed it wasn't the time to say it because someone was talking. But hi, John.
Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
you can interrupt anytime anyway.
Yeah. It
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
matter.
yeah.
John's up in here in the chat.
John, we got your
My
question sent.
chat on my phone is
Yow.
a completely different thing, so I think
How do I make basses wide?
confused.
Yeah. If you were gonna make something wide, what's your go-to?
Well, a lot of time lately, one of the ways I've been addressing many different problems in terms of sound, like the synthesis part of like a bass sound or any sound, is just like adding additional harmonics in parallel. Like, because I use Phaseplant a lot. And
Amen.
So I think like thinking about it in terms of Phaseplant is really helpful. But like having just like, you know, another, what do they call them? Snap-ins? Or are they, I mean, they're modules is the way I think about them.
Yeah.
In the like,
Effects.
In the effects or in the oscillators?
in the oscillators.
I just call them oscillators.
Either a wavetable or the analog. Like
Yeah.
The wavetable, I notice has like some noise floor.
It does
weird
have
shit
a noise floor. I noticed that just the
Yeah.
other day. I was trying to figure out what it
in
was.
like
and
5K or something. Like
Ooh.
I had to go in like low pass or
Just
high
in
pass.
general?
All my
yeah.
the wavetable. If you have it on sine, there's like a 5 hertz just mountain at the bottom.
You don't
of the
really
fucking spectrum.
What?
notice it. I mean, honestly, you know that I'm thinking of it. That might explain a lot of like. There's this. I don't know if it's like an aliased sound I'm thinking of. It almost sounds like OTT. How OTT kind of makes things shitty in the high end. Phaseplant seems to do like on its own, and I'm wondering if that's it. Because I was about to say that I don't normally notice that like 5K shit if there's already a bunch of brightness going on and stuff.
Right.
But,
Okay.
But like if it's just like meant to be kind of more 808 like subby sound, and then like, or if it's like
It's just 5K singing.
if for whatever fucking reason I put like some OTT later on the chain, I think where this problem would really present itself is if I have like a mid-rangey sort of like bass sound that's kind of meant to get the spotlight in a tune, and then a lot of times in a patch I'll have a knob that's just like I'll have a bunch of different timbre knobs, like where like I'll have timbre knob like 1, 2, 3, so that like at 0% it sounds good, and at 100% it sounds good, but just different, like timbrely. Maybe like moving filters around, or just like.
Ooh, I like that.
The main thing I try and just think of or keep in mind rather is at 0, it not only sounds good, but like in something I like, but is also more or less the same perceived loudness as at 100%. So then, like it theoretically. But it doesn't always work in practice. you could have like a few different timbre knobs, and any combination of them will sound good.
Right.
And not too loud or too quiet.
Won't peak out or drop out. Yeah.
But I will often have a knob that I guess I could think of as a timbre knob that is just like a low pass version of the sound. And it'll often be just as simple as that too. But like, I'll, you know, a lot of times if I open up a rack or a patch in a project that's already like made and I were to show it to somebody, like especially somebody who might not really know much about like sound design, they might be like, whoa, what the heck? There's so much stuff going on. But like, it doesn't.
Only a couple of the things are actually being used in one moment.
Either that, or it's really just a matter of like, that doesn't happen all at once. Like, I don't think of all that at once. It's all just like, each modulating each source of modulation, whether it's an LFO envelope or like a macro or something, like I'll just think in my head of it like, this is the knob that does this, like this is the main rhythmic knob, like this does the rhythmic thing,
this is the hit knob, this is the
and like maybe I'll attach it to a filter, maybe volume, maybe a little bit of both, maybe fucking whatever other shit, just like wavetable position or something, and I'll just sort of map as I go and stuff. But I forget why I even brought any like that.
I don't know.
Dude,
width on bases.
That's that's the beauty of the pod is you just fucking go into the hole and you're like, wait, how did we get here? Where are we? Whatever.
Yeah. What do you? Are you a chorus guy for width? Are you a Haas guy? Are you a
Haas Delgado? If anyone knows that reference, you're a G.
RC20 width guy.
I do like RC. I do use that a lot.
Me too.
So I bet you a lot of times it sort of just like consequentially fucking satisfies any need I might have had for width without sort of even thinking.
Really?
I mean,
you're gonna hear a niceness to something being slightly different, stereo wise, you know, and enjoy it.
I guess
likely
to say it in my like thoughts on width in as few words as possible, as I don't really think about it most of the time. Some of my tunes probably are literally just mono, and I like a lot of my tunes are pretty much most of the way mono, and it was like something that I kind of picked up from watching Culprit's Twitch streams because he was really big on that. I almost think about it like when you have like in a studio and you have multiple subwoofers like how John has, and you know position them in such a way depending on the geometry of your room and the listening position and where the speakers are, and once you get it right, that's coupling, right? That's what it's called. I almost think.
I didn't know that.
I think
coupling.
If I'm correct,
I think that's correct.
Huh.
I think about it like mono is like that to me, and like I know it's not quite the same, but like especially for bass stuff, this is subjective. But I could argue almost from an objective point, just depending on like how we define some of these words, like tightness. I feel like mono bass sounds, particularly in the low region, especially, is just tighter. But also the same with like snares and shit. Like to make a wide fucking snare, it's just a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying I don't like it also, and that like there aren't, because I'm sure like like Resonant Language, I bet has some like really dope fucking crinkly
explosions.
Of course he does.
Little
spunky,
Yeah.
like
probably have some weird ones that like pan.
Yeah, like don't. I'm not. I would never suggest to anyone to like not be creative.
That you're very mono leaning.
We've talked about
cool.
keeping a teardrop kind of, or as we like to call it, a vagina. In your stereo, so it's very mono at the bottom. Yeah,
the Christmas tree,
but even more
tree,
brought in.
It's
more brought in, so it's more mono up until like 200, 300, and then it starts to get a little bit of width until it gets into your mid range, and that's where you have free reign to do whatever.
Yeah.
But then as it gets to like 2K, 3K, 4K, it starts going back to mono because all that crispness. If anything's that close to you to be giving you that much high end, it's probably right in front of you, and it's mono.
Yeah.
Like anything that's far away doesn't have high end.
Exactly. So when you approach it from like that mindset, when you do
Right,
like
it's a
your
physi-
reverb throws and delays, and you let those go full wide, and let those be like the extension of the spectrum or whatever, it just I don't know. It's like a nice
Right.
depth
It's just
width
trying.
thing.
I mean, it's my attempt at trying to get as much realism and physicality into the electronic production as possible. That's also why I like when Nick from Noisia talks about peaking your drums or your bass sound synthetically with a clipper or what have you, because it tricks the brain into thinking that the sound has reached the physical limit of the speaker. So it adds this physical element that, like, for example, amplitude modding your hi-hats to your kick drum. So every time the hi-hat hits, it goes...
You know, I never
that-
thought to do it like that. I've been doing it in
Dude.
2 different ways. One with ring mod side chaining, and
they
then
were talking about that with John.
and the other way, and that I don't know either if I don't know confidently that I'm even fucking doing it right most of the time, because I rely on Syscope, like a waveform analyzer, to like. That's the only fucking way that you could ever like rest assured that you're doing something like ring modulation in the correct way. Because if you don't do it in the one specific way, then it
doesn't work.
Then it doesn't work. If you put it in the wrong place, it doesn't work. Like if they're like not in parallel, like the input and the source.
It's really easy in Bitwig.
yeah.
I want to fucking. Is it?
Bitwig's
Is
the
the
best.
sale over?
We're both
Probably?
fully on.
I
They're
gotta
probably
Bitwig.
going to do a crazy
do
sale when they
sales all
drop
the time.
5.2. They're about to drop 5.2, so it might get a pick it up.
No, don't do
no.
it, Keota.
For
No,
a
don't
little
go to the
bit.
dark side.
They're doing
Oh,
their
no.
sale right
no,
now.
honestly, try
They
it. Try
are.
it. If
They
you
are.
love it.
It's a 10-year. It's a 10-year sale for pretty cheap.
Tenured.
Let's 10-year. Let's
It's
bring
a
this.
10-year.
Where'd it go? There it is.
Honestly, I know I talk about it all the time on the pod. I know like one day I'm going to transfer to Bitwig,
Yeah,
but I'm not ready yet. Who
Well-
knows how long it'll be?
The way I used
worth
to
it.
use FL for like 9 years, and the way I switched
Whoa.
was like, I only wanted to learn how to use operator and sampler because there were many tutorials I watched of like a lot of sounds I was very curious about that like ended up being made with those things. So like the headspace I was in is like, oh, I just want to like take stuff from like, I just want to learn enough about Ableton so I could use these 2 things, and then I could just poop sounds out of it into FL Studio. But I ended up like, it's hard to learn how to use just one like fucking instrument or audio effect in a
different ecosystem, for sure.
like without learning how it fucking is.
And at least until you learn at least 2 DAWs. Once you've kind of switched from at least 2 DAWs, I think, then you can kind of switch to the third one a little bit easier. You can kind of
you
start
understand how a DAW
Right,
works
you're-
entirely. You're
you're
like, oh, it's
looking-
not that different.
You're looking for the similarities that you're used to, and they're easier to find.
yeah.
It's like living in like California or something, and then living in like fucking
Right.
Yep.
Florida.
Right.
Dude,
Right.
that's
Germany.
why recently I switched to a GarageBand, and I'm strictly a GarageBand guy now.
Damn, it's
Like-
actually as cheap as I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
$200.
$200
That's
special offer.
insane for 10 years too.
Oh, maybe because you guys got shirts, I'll get it now.
There you go.
Thank you.
Maybe 'cause
Honestly, dude, it does look sick. It looks sick.
Yeah, what did you say?
I asked what you said. You said you both had shirts on or something?
He said-
Well, because
we
you guys
bought
got
his
shirts. So, because I
Oh, I see.
So now he
I
can
see.
afford it.
Yeah,
perhaps.
money's been
That's
tight,
true.
boys.
Hey,
So
I feel
it's
you.
good.
Oh, we all know.
We,
yeah.
We all know.
Yeah.
We're all in this economy
Yep.
together.
No, Joe Biden says it's fucking great, dude.
Hey, man.
He barely got the sentence out, but he said it.
That's true. And then he
Listen.
slipped on his bike.
Economy has been doing great since Civil War.
My friend Joe. Wait, that's me. What do you got
Practicing
for
that voice. Let's go.
what do you got for end of pod
Are
questions?
we already
over there?
Oh,
Can I bring up one more
That's
thing?
crazy.
Because
Sure.
this has been on my mind.
Wow, I only just relaxed. Like,
I mean, we can go longer.
yeah, I don't care.
I want to go a hint.
I usually go longer than
We can go longer.
all the stuff I do.
Yeah, we can go longer.
Let's go.
Ask me a question. Oh,
I'm just gonna
dirty
fill the
dog.
pipe and
I'm
get
gonna
another
pee,
beer.
but I'll wait till you get back.
Yeah. Hey, could I have another one of those liquid deaths?
Yeah, of
Thanks.
course.
It doesn't taste like copper like everyone says.
No, liquid
people
death's
say
great.
that?
Or pennies.
No.
I bet the
What?
water one maybe.
Maybe the water one.
Well, the uncarbonated I haven't
the
tried.
carbonated are sick.
But
There's one that's like lemon lime.
Do they do
That one's
anything
really good.
cool?
I don't like their flavorings.
with the money they get from selling water?
Probably
yes,
not.
I do believe they're
Oh.
veteran.
I would hope.
Veteran supporters.
Because
Let's go.
Veteran. Okay.
Not wounded
Warriors.
warriors. Yeah, they got caught with some shit.
Oh well, yeah. I don't know what you're referring to actually.
There was some scandal that happened with Wounded Warrior a couple years back.
Is that
like a charity?
Yeah,
Okay.
charity for
Yeah.
veterans. I think they
Okay.
Liquid Death. Don't quote me, but they do.
They were
another
driving nice
one.
cars and shit.
Yeah, classic. It's non-profit.
It's not profit, dude. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
No, then why aren't you in a Civic?
Well, it's like a fucking like industrial complex, isn't it? Like I forget
Yeah.
what it's called, but it's like, but there's like some type of
Yeah, there's some
weird triangle of
Dude.
fuckery.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Liquid Death is legit. They actually
That's cool.
they had a little bit of an issue where people were like, "Oh, your water, you say it's artisan water, but this or that," and so they immediately switched. And within 2 weeks, they had spring water in their cans from America, also, which is great. So it's not traveling across borders.
Well,
or anything
exactly.
like that.
That's like I
It's
think
huge.
that's
It's huge for me.
thinking ecologically, I think, is like something that a lot of people in the United States don't do, and I never did, and I didn't even know
Same.
what it meant.
Same. Yeah.
And for anyone listening, for my understanding of it, it's just like the study of how organisms influence their environment and how the environment influences organisms, and like kind of the relationship. And the example that I think of. As to like how interconnected things can be, and to like the extent to which things can get fucked up if you just change one little thing, is in I think Yellowstone, when they killed all the wolves, like early settlers. Thank you.
Yep.
Like they got rid of fucking either most of them or all of them, and what ended up happening was, because there were no wolves to eat like these moose, the moose were fucking and breeding and reproducing and eating, and then there was so many of them that they were resorting to eat all types of shit that they would normally eat, including like saplings of trees and stuff. And
The moose takeover.
so then the whole like the whole forest started to change, because now there were no new trees growing, putting their roots into the ground, and then eventually it even led to like the earth itself and the topography changing, with like streams forming where there weren't any before,
right.
and vice versa. Yeah, because
Jesus
that shit's
Christ.
important. Because then,
Balance, folks.
like, it's no surprise how. Like,
that's what you
thinking
call
about-
auto balance.
yeah, literally, yeah.
You fuck with it, it will balance.
Yeah.
It might do what you want it, not what you want it to do,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it'll work out.
It
Yep.
might get a little wily.
Yeah.
They panned the wolves too hard, right? And then the moose.
And,
took
the
center.
volcano erupts,
And then the volcano erupts.
and there's a tsunami, and we're all dead.
Well, that, and now we have coyotes in every city and every state in the
Dude.
entire union, because
And-
there's a niche there.
And now we have dragons. Dragons are taking
Well, I mean,
over
not
South
now.
America.
They've been everywhere, always. They're an ancient
Oh,
text.
I just didn't hear about it.
They're no. Just look at any ancient texts.
Dragons.
Japanese have dragons. Chinese have dragons.
I
Vikings
know.
have dragons.
I want dragons to be real
Europeans
so
have
bad.
dragons.
How cool.
No, European.
Uranus, dude. We're talking about space here. All right, I'm gonna pee real quick. You guys, you ask him your question, whatever
Called
you
it.
had.
Okay.
You did.
So something, and I don't know how to fucking do this, and so I'm just curious if you've experimented with this concept at all, but just breaking the typical 16 bar 8 bar structure. I was breaking down Cass Elliot. She did this song, and AT and I were breaking it down like a few hours ago, and their structure is fucked up. Like their intro is 12 bars. And then their chorus is 10 bars. They have like an 8 bar with like some weird extended thing. And then they go into their breakdown and it's like 14. And then their next chorus was 9.5.
Who is this?
9.5.
9.5. It was Cass Elliot.
Oh, God.
Make your own kind of music. It's like you've got to make your own kind of music. that song?
Oh yeah, music I feel like used to be more like that than it is now.
Yeah, they just like didn't give a shit about like
Right.
typical
Yeah,
structures.
Yeah. It like super common in like probably most genres.
Probably most.
Especially like progressive ones and like, you know, experimental from experimental singer-songwriters and stuff and like folk to like, you know, rock and like progressive rock and like metal and shit. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever listened to Horse the Band.
No.
They're a metalcore band. They were like they kind of got it coined as Nintendo Core in like 2008, 2009.
Oh, Jesus,
when, like,
let's go.
Oh, nice.
But like they didn't scream. It was not screamo in that like they didn't scream in any like aesthetic, unnatural kind of way that like no human would ever do if like a fucking predator came out of the woods. Like they would never be like or whatever the fuck. Like they would be kind of like screaming like, you know,
Passionate.
passionate
Yelling.
human scream. This band did. It was almost more like yelling in a way that I really appreciated. But like their music would be all fucking over the place. It would just be like whenever they felt like it would switch up. And
Dude, yeah, I would love to see some more stuff like that.
it's harder to DJ though.
So I don't think it is. I think there's a way we could incorporate it like really easily, as long as you didn't do like weird extensions on like your intro and build, or like whatever the main transition pieces are. You know,
I'm in agreement. Yeah, like I think, and it's also kind of like knowing in advance like where like this shit happens, like where and when the switch ups, like just doing it in record box and just like knowing the music, but also from a songwriting standpoint, because I thought about this as well, like just having like a section that is like I could also it'd be funny to have a release that has like a PDF or like a .text like instructions, like when you torrent something, like in like how to DJ it like the correct way, because like there's no real like there's no guaranteed way that you could do anything interesting like that isn't gonna fuck up some DJ like, and this is, you know, ultimately
that's true. Yeah.
it's ultimately, you could argue that it's ultimately their problem or responsibility, but
if they can't DJ it, they don't deserve to DJ the song or whatever.
Yeah. But then also like there is something to be said for just like I often think of like keep in the back of my head like people. I would like for people to want to DJ this. Yeah. And but like so doing something like that, it would be fun, honestly, like funny to put like a little, if it was like in an EP or whatever, or even in a single if you just included it in the metadata or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Or even, and then also something we've always talked about is like releasing 2 versions, at least specifically for like Bandcamp or something like.
Because
Yeah.
like artists will, like I already have multiple versions of a lot of my own tunes. Like why wouldn't I also be like, hey, I have found that when I tried to DJ this, I ran into like these kind of problems. Like, you know, this version that had the drums in the intro was actually kind of annoying or something.
Yeah.
I didn't have that many opportunities to like mix into this where it sounded good. So just like, like having multiple versions where it's like this one doesn't have drums in the build up, this one does. That's usually the biggest thing that I often think about for making a edit.
I was just saying this to Caleb like yesterday or something. Someone was talking about like putting a kick drum like hard pan on the left side. Let's just say they're a newer producer.
Yeah.
And being like, it works so good in the club or whatever. Anyway, what I was saying is,
Pretty sure the speakers were mono.
it's very possible. The sub's going to be mono.
Dude, the
most
drummers
likely.
play to the left. I put my kick drum to the left.
But what I was saying is that is creatively a very novice kind of it's like you can only be creative with what you're aware of. So like time signature is like one of the first things you become aware of. So it's like the easiest like rabbit hole to try and jump down when you're first starting out. Like when I mean, you know, I grew up playing in bands and shit, and like we would do shit in 5 or what. We would always do that pretty quickly, just because we're like trying to be weird, and it is weird and it is fun when it works. But like,
But it's also
when you get deep into the artist, like that craft kind of shit, you're fucking with the most minute bullshit.
Yeah, you're adding a microtonal on this one off snare because all the snares together with that.
Yeah, I've heard this too. This seems like a fucking European fucking thing too, or Scandinavian shit. Because I heard it from, I think it was Caracol Project's Patreon, and I'm assuming that a lot of that information is like trickle down fucking production tips from like Noisia and all the other
100%
people.
is.
So like I imagine
From
that
the Godfathers.
Yeah, I imagine it a lot. They play like shows together and shit, and like I know that, and like I'm pretty sure that Caracol Project's released on. I don't know if he has.
I don't know if he's been on
shows
Vision or not, but he's definitely in the crew.
But I think I'm assuming that's where I had heard that, and like in just this most subtle way, it really does sort of like because changing the whole snare, like having snare A and then snare B next time, even just that, I think can really help. Like especially if it's done in a way that sounds good, that in itself can all like sort of inherently like implies phrasing,
exactly,
and like kind of makes it easier to sort of imagine where new like pockets of phrasing could come in, and like I don't know, it can be. And just that though is like usually just enough.
It's a tension.
I forget about pitch in that regard. Honestly,
pockets of phrasing.
Yeah,
is such a good line.
Well,
phrasing.
There's
got my pockets full of phrasing.
There's actually one other thing that I definitely wanted to say that I think helps me from an arrangement point of view, a phrasing point of view. Like so, I think for a little preface to what I'm about to say, whether or not this is a good idea, I think depends also on the person, and not necessarily whether it's a good idea, but more particularly whether it's like good or a bad thing to do, or like a preferred way of having like phrasing. So basically, the long and short of it is having my phrases like when things repeat, just be like maybe longer, like maybe twice as longer of an interval of time, or like 4 times as long than I would otherwise sort of do if I were just like kind of writing phrasing in the way that I normally do. Like just what I often like end up doing.
Do it again, basically, is what you're.
Well, so like if the riff was like ba 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 ba, to instead just do some shit like bom bom.
Right.
Bom bom.
Right.
And like
that's a super good move.
How slim can you make the phrase still the phrase?
Well, so yeah, so this what I because I
slim as possible.
Not to say that it's objectively more interesting or anything like that, because like there's every genre of music basically has some aspect of it that's more repetitive than others, or like certain elements in the tune that are more repetitive than other elements, and some genres are more repetitive than others. But like even using like psytrance as an example, like you could say that it's really repetitive in like if you're just talking about like the kick drum or something. But like other than that though, I
think most people would say that it's very repetitive.
But it's not.
But then you listen to that main sound and it's just evolving the entire time. Like,
just most people.
So like not to discount music that's repetitive in like certain kinds of ways.
Technically, it always.
But for me, I find it helpful to sort of force myself to work this way, because I'll get like tunnel vision if I'm working on stuff that's like that repeats on really small intervals, and I'll like very quickly start to hate what's happening, and like I could be working.
Right?
It could be there's really sick tunes that are really repetitive in certain types of way. Like the phrasing of the bass line,
acid. Is kind of like that.
Yeah.
I get that fucking stuck thing whenever I try to make an acid thing, because I just get sucked into the fucking whatever the fucking acidy thing is.
So Tom, how do you approach making something repetitive enough that it's not just chaos evolution and like here's all my sounds ever and all my mud pies?
It's not that it's, I guess repetitive maybe isn't the right word, but maybe just like like focusing or highlighting the interval, like the length of the interval, like so because it's still just as repetitive, arguably. It just takes longer.
Right,
To
it's a
It just
4-bar
hasn't
loop.
happened as many times.
I think where I noticed it, like first, there was one night where I took like half a tab of acid and I went to Mishawaka Amphitheater a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and Turning Sound and Cursa were playing. And
Fuck you.
I was just like, I was tapped in the whole time.
Yeah, 100%.
And I was just like, also because I had never seen Turning Sound at that point, and I don't like listen to dubstep like that often. But like, I mean, I use
the creme de la creme.
I love dubstep. I just don't like. It's not like I'm home
Right.
listening to dubstep all the
You're
time.
not actively pursuing it.
Yeah, like there's plenty of people who listen to like, especially like that style of dubstep, listen to way more than me. But I love them.
Very
I love
regular
it.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Well, yeah,
love
like
them.
exactly.
They're just a big
so-
inspiration. So I
Yeah. Same. Like I feel like they're like the noisy of dubstep.
agree.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would agree. The
damn.
North American
High
noisy
praise.
of dubstep. They're just not. They haven't been around as long, so they don't have the same weight to it. But we're kind of projecting it on them.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
But just like literally, that set was like a lesson, or I was like taking notes basically, and like because I don't know, like I don't intimately know much of what they're playing. Maybe I know some of it, but I probably didn't know like at least 3/4 of what I was hearing.
Sure.
So at any given moment, I don't know. Like if I'm hearing the drums from tune A or tune B, or if I'm hearing like this one little riff from tune B, or if it's from tune like the tune that they're mixing into or out of, like I don't know. And at a certain point, like when you get locked into fucking as a listener to something like a DJ set of like a legacy genre like dubstep or garage or drum and bass
yeah.
or
House.
any of those genres. After hearing it for long enough, it's almost like you could just like throw in a little riff at any fucking arbitrary point, and like if it like it, so thinking about arrangement like almost from
It's hard.
that like DJ perspective of just like, okay, well, would this work in the context of like DJing? And if the answer is yes, then it will probably also work making electronic music that people want to DJ also.
Yeah,
so like
right.
I'll just think about each track in an arrangement of an Ableton project as though the Ableton project is a giant DJ set and each track is its own individual
Okay, sick.
tune, and apply the same logic.
I've kind of thought of it when I'm looking. I would do these things called, actually I don't remember what I called them. The tobacco's gotten to me.
I think you call them like squubby bumps.
Yeah,
or
scrubby
something?
bumps. So I
Yeah.
do these things called scrubby bumps.
Scrubby bumps.
Where I would bring in a bunch of tracks that I've added to a Spotify playlist or whatever, where I'm like, ooh, this arrangement is intriguing. Just the arrangement was weird. It didn't matter what the genre was. It could be R&B. It could be Jack Johnson. It could be Metallica. It could be
Iron
Noisia.
Maiden.
Fucking Maiden, baby.
Maiden.
You always win with 3 lead guitarists. Remember that, kids. If you want to win, just get 3 of them.
Oh, so
So
I need 3 lead bass sounds then at every
Right,
point.
right.
That's what you're saying.
Well, that's what we're.
I mean,
using.
they take turns, but they're all different. That's the thing. They're all stylized in their own unique way.
They play
Anyways,
together.
This is a totally different fucking tangent. But I would bring all of these tracks into Bitwig, and I would just make a quick skeleton with one MIDI clip and just be like, okay, intro, break. Oh, here's a fun little fill, and like make it a weird
little something.
color too. If there's like 3 fills in a row and one of them is like shorter, you're like, okay, timing wise, they're doing something interesting here. And I would try and like mark those. But honestly, I've done this maybe 6 times and I've never gone back to them. It's all just the act of doing it that subjectively is like bled into my like thoughts. And now when I'm arranging something, all I can think about is how I will DJ it. Like it's the only thing I can think about. So like, which is a bummer because I used to be able to like make really fun intros that were like an album kind of intro, and now I can't do it. I'm
so
always
long as you put like a kick on the fucking downbeat of somewhere.
Exactly. Establish the one.
that or something, or a riff that leads into the one. Even if there isn't a kick,
Yeah,
there's you're inherently like, oh, a turnaround.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then it just like inherently happens, which has helped me, I think, a lot, and I've enjoyed it because then I don't have
But
to think that hard about
Then
intros.
also, have DJs just gotten lazy,
You could argue,
right?
but I
Like,
also
if
have
no
my own
one's
twist
pushing
on
the
it.
boundaries,
I have
like-
my own twist on it that I am pushing the boundaries subjectively to me. Like I'm doing something different in my brain
Yeah, yeah,
that I feel
yeah.
like no one else is doing. Even though you might say it just sounds like a DJ, like nothing's happening and things start to happen
Sure,
kind of intro.
sure.
But I disagree.
I often resort to that, like as a placeholder. I think also treating a lot of things as a placeholder sort of takes the pressure off a
Yeah,
little.
could take
Like
the
it
edge
eases
off.
some of the pressure. So I'll just be like, okay, I'll do a white noise riser as like a guide for like how to, build the energy or how to carry.
An energy guide.
Yeah, and then
Channel my energy guides.
if I replace it with something else, cool. But if I don't, then it was probably fine. Like
Yeah,
because
agreed.
like if it helped me get to the end point of then like finishing everything else, like if it's not sticking out to me, like I didn't
Right.
get to that fucking white noise. I didn't make that more interesting. People are gonna know I'm a phony.
yeah, they're gonna know. They're gonna hate me.
Oh, you got to it, bro.
People are gonna
You
not
got
know
to
I
it.
didn't freaking cry over this.
If it's released, you got to it.
yeah.
That's
Or
when
it-
you get to
or
it.
at
'Cause in the
least
club, it
looked at
does
it.
not matter that much.
Right, in the club it doesn't matter, but released, you at least looked at every channel.
Yeah, you're
Isn't
right.
Made
that
a
the
conscious
fucking-
decision.
Isn't that the gnarliest mindset of like all the other guys are gonna judge me because I didn't make my white noise cool enough? Like
It's human.
it can be so
It's
negative.
very human.
It's kind of we've gone full circle.
I'm judging people on their white noise.
Yeah,
So
to be fair,
I get it. I get it. And
I'm
I'm
thinking
right
that
there with them.
because I'm doing that
Yeah.
You know what's
Not
something I realized though?
in a
Like
mean way.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like I wouldn't have done that.
that's fair. That's fair.
That was pretty aggressive, and
Like-
there's no movement on that at all. Nothing's happening there.
I realized there's like a different way to view it if you're just releasing it and someone's listening in their bedroom versus if you're playing it live though. Because John played out one of my tracks recently at the big event at Cervantes.
Shout out.
And I
Yo.
realized like a lot of the like the detail-y stuff I put in there, like you just couldn't even really hear.
Fuck yeah.
It was all the like big and bold shit, like the main focus, like that was all you could hear. And I imagine most people were paying attention to. Like that's what I was paying attention to.
Yeah, there's.
So there's I don't know.
I feel like there's two sides of that where it's like, yes, you could just dumb it down for a club end it so you can get more power out of the main things, maybe. But you could also figure out a way to trim other things out of the way so all the intricacies start to stand out a little bit more. Like I feel like you can go both ways.
yeah.
One's a little bit harder maybe than the other, but
Say that one more time.
two sides of the same coin of not being able to hear a shit at the club. You can either lean into it not being able to be heard, so you just get rid of some of the
Extra fun
details, so you
detail-y
can make
bits.
the main parts really pronounced and obvious and give them more power. Or you can reduce those things and kind of trim them so you can get the details to stand out a little bit more and try and punch through.
make the details have more power in
right.
a way.
I
and
think the
take out
answer is
main.
both,
It is
everybody.
both, right?
Well, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And
I-
honestly, it probably translates to like just your home listening environment too. Like the main focus is the main focus, and
And
the
it's
extras
your
are
main-
nice, but
it's your main focus as the artist. You're making the tune, so you're
Mm.
you kind of you're also, I mean, in my opinion, guiding the tune because the muse
Yeah.
is using an instrument.
you're the
So-
selector.
Right. So you can only like you have to kind of figure out a way to refine this thing you've been given, and you're like, all right, well, how does the song want to be? How does the song want to be? Like you have to like sit there and like, where does it want to go? And you listen to it and you're like, no, it sounds like it's not where it needs to be yet. And it needs to be more this. Kind of always trust your gut, at least for me. I always try and trust my gut and then lean into that.
John just said it. If your intention is to create a complex set of textures to envelop someone, it might not translate well in a large speaker,
Large space.
large
environment.
Yeah.
space environment.
Right,
yeah,
true that.
exactly. Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So then I guess it does
Absolutely.
kind of make sense.
Restraint
to like,
knows.
Well, I don't.
It's a little restraint, if you will.
I don't really give a fuck about any artistic decision that anybody does if it was the best decision for that artist in that particular moment that like enabled them to keep moving forward and like ultimately still creating new stuff. And because like there's a lot of like advice I wouldn't give if it were to like, you know, overemphasize something that's maybe not that important, or like, you know, and obviously a lot of this stuff is like subjective or whatever, but like in terms of even just like my approach in terms of giving advice to people or like teaching and stuff, I don't necessarily criticize like or nitpick about like what people are doing or why or how, as much as I just talk about like what I would do. And also
That's all you can do.
Yeah. Well, so I basically avoid, I try and say only things that are true.
Right.
It's not like I'm gonna like lie to somebody about like, wow, this is amazing, bro.
You nailed it. You don't need to buy
Nice cock,
me.
bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice cock.
No, but like I almost avoid sort of criticizing any one thing, because like ultimately, like people are gonna have to figure out like shit for themselves. So like if I, you know, say, I don't know about this, you got 2 EQs in a row, why you don't need, like, I mean, even like I might there's certain things I will I'll definitely I'll point out, like I will still like point out like some things that I'm like, what's your, like I'll just ask what their thought process is, and then I'll explain my thought process. But like I really just try and give people confidence and like sort of not
You
like,
build them up.
yeah, like just so that they keep, so that they don't, I don't want people doubting themselves.
Yeah. Not
and
saying your idea was wrong, but here's how it could develop. Here's my thought process on it, and maybe we'll find a happy in between.
Yeah. Because like I'm always happy to hear like people continuing to make stuff is like the most important thing.
That's the goal.
And that's only that will like also improve one's skills and stuff too. So like, you know, whatever, you know, keeps it interesting and fun enough, like a balance, like, you know, and that's different for like every person for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
So we got a question
day.
here from Baracco Subdrop.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Poor guy didn't get
Is this a Twitter question or an Instagram question?
This is from LinkedIn.
Oh, a
actually.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, we got a
Oh,
LinkedIn
We are
profile.
popping off on LinkedIn. So.
Are super dry mixes overrated or underrated? Ooh, this is a topical subject right now.
Super dry
he's
mixes.
watching.
Dave, let's start with you.
Hey, I want to say this about super dry mixes. Caleb and I were making dance music for the past few years.
Like 5.
And we went on a dry run.
We
Oh my
were dry
God, you
for
did.
5 years.
A long time we went dry.
You forgot reverb was a word.
Dry.
Yeah,
And I agree with dry for the club,
yes,
but I do not agree with dry for the
Home.
right.
the headphones, the speaker, the car. Like,
And
I feel like you get a lot of juice out of spatial shit when
Yeah.
it's coming to any other listening situation, but
I feel you.
well, except for your like cell phone or whatever
Right.
the fuck.
Yeah.
Which-
It's such a balance. But
which leans into a club edit, like not a
Yeah.
club edit like what they put on the
Right.
Spotify, where it's just like longer.
It's the
or
same
whatever.
song.
It's the exact same
just
song. It's
dry.
just dry as fuck.
and mono.
Yeah.
Well, if we think about sort of like the progression and like the journey of one's life over a period of time and the body of work that they create over a period of time, like I wouldn't give a fuck if like one of my friends or anybody made like a country record, so long as like they continued to just put out stuff like
Sure.
like because this is sort of almost like stuff I tell myself to make me feel better about whatever, like even just like releasing music at all. But like, you know, because I'll often tell myself like, or I'll speak negatively to myself like, like I you're like, what am I, some fucking asshole? I'm gonna like have a tune that's not like groundbreaking, or it's not this, or it's not that.
Right.
But like, but you know, because it's funny, because maybe it is like something I tell myself because I don't know. But like, I, you know, because at any point in time, like that could happen again.
Fuck yeah.
Like when the conditions are right, and you know, I think I would probably honestly like write more weird music if, one, it wasn't like a culture of DJing, but two, if we didn't like live in an economy and shit. Like if all of my
we didn't live in a society.
If our needs were already like fundamentally met in like all the ways that matter, and like, you know, we had food, shelter, like a roof over our heads, and etc. Then like only in that situation could, like, where there's no, I don't know, like competitive amongst humans, survival, abstract fucking economics involved in shit.
Yeah.
Whew.
Then, dude,
That
that
is
song,
a
you
lot
just
of biology to
freeball
read
into
out there.
existence. You're like, yo, I made this weird thing. It's not on brand at all, but like, it's cool. I like it.
I think
Send
that
it,
is
like-
always the master plan. The master plan is do a bunch of things, be as creative as you can be, and try and get away with as much as you can, and also be like interesting to the normal people, and then have enough money coming in that now you know, oh, I don't have to worry about it anymore. And then you go, all right, I'm going to make the weirdest shit I ever did. Or if it's Caleb and I,
let's make
we're
a
going to
band.
make a smooth jazz band, and we're
Right.
just going to do it.
Let's gonna do whatever.
Like, because I think making the leap into doing music full time, like, there's, you know, to also be big brain, as you know, my ideal big brain version of myself. I don't know how realistic it is. Like, I mean, not to say that I am not still trying to do creative stuff with my music, like in like different ways, but because there's also like many other ways to make money besides just like the music part, obviously.
Sure.
And also the money and opportunities and like the material impact that like how your music sound has on your life is pretty abstract, because it's not necessarily, you know, you couldn't just look at the dollar revenue on like Bandcamp sales or Spotify to like, you know, quantify what having really experimental sounding music or not would have like as an impact on one's life, like if, you know, that's ultimately the moneymaker and like the thing that brings in opportunities. Because like, you know, that's why I do like educational stuff and whatever.
Sure.
But like, you know, because if I had a job maybe and I didn't like, I wasn't worrying about money in regards to music, I would also wonder if like maybe under those kind of conditions I would maybe take more risks. But at the same time, if I had a job, like a, you know, traditional job or whatever, working for somebody else or like a company or whatever,
A 9 to 5.
I don't know that I would have as much energy to or time. But I don't. It's a
constant.
You wouldn't.
Also,
You wouldn't, but you're talking to two dudes who have full-time jobs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we still just grind.
Yeah,
we just
yeah,
grind.
I
But it
didn't-
is
I
true.
didn't
It
realize
frees
you
you
were-
up. It does free you up for more creativity. Like we don't have to worry
I don't know.
about it.
Well, yeah, it's, like I guess what I'm saying is I don't know. Like there's just there are sort
Well,
of pros and cons. Of
there's
fucking,
what ifs all over the
and
place.
and there's
Yeah,
no
sure.
right answer for any of
No.
it, right? Like it's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
just you choose
yeah.
this path or you choose this path. Here's
Right.
the pros and cons of both.
There's just ways of going about it. We are doing this.
Yeah.
We're talking to people. We're trying to meet people through this, make as many friends as we can, help people understand whatever fucking new like we would love to have you on all sorts of times
Hell
Yeah, we can
over
talk
the years.
about all
We're
other
not
stuff.
going anywhere.
No, this podcast isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, and the more we can actually dive into like something more specific, the more I feel like
It
I'm
would be
doing
fun
the
to have
job I want
full
to
episodes.
do.
Yeah, about
Yeah,
very
yeah,
specific
like-
stuff.
Thorough.
I feel like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
bullshit about this shit all the
Deep
time, and I think it's all good. But like, I really like when sometimes you just hit like a really detailed note
yeah.
that is just
Yeah, I mean-
there's so much juice in
You're like,
it.
oh,
you
that
can
was
just
sauce.
We just
okay,
had
this is perfect. That's what we needed.
Going back to talking about creating snares, we had an episode where we just kind of like each did a quick like little bit on the DAW here
Oh,
on
where
the
we
pod,
made, we
and we
each
kind
made
of like
snares in our own way.
like how do you make snares most of the time? And I made little Franken-snare, and like we each did a little thing, and it was kind of like a quick little look. But like things like that, that's what this pod is built for.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I would
it's
like to
fucking-
do one of those if you
Hell
guys
yeah.
do.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that would
Yeah.
be sick.
I mean,
we can have like an
the
in
DAWs
the
are
DAW
right here.
episode where we all just
Yeah.
go
that'd
deep
be-
on it. That'd
yeah.
be
In
that'd be
parallel
Cool. Yeah.
or sono busing.
So,
Oh,
we
yeah.
could, well, we could
There
do
we
that
go.
too. But I mean,
Lizzie Dunn.
Also,
Baby
I did,
Gronk.
that question fucking sparked some debate.
yeah.
Let's
do you want
go.
to give me your opinion? Is super,
Oh, yeah. What was
Yeah, we
the
only got
question
one
again?
answer so
What was
far.
the question?
super dry mixes. Well, he says are hyper dry mixes. I don't know what hyper dry means. It's like dry, but it's really excited.
I don't
I
know.
didn't,
who he
dude.
is.
Baracco Subdrop asked it, not me.
It's
I don't know.
yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
Barack, he
Obama.
probably meant are they like horny? Yeah,
Or-
that's-
Say it again?
They're
horny.
very not horny, right? They're hyper dry.
no, I'm saying
I think he was
hyper
trying to
as
say-
in they're horny.
Hyper dry. Well, hyper dry. I think of friction, which doesn't make me aroused.
Over the pants handy.
Oh,
Yeah, hyper dry.
Dry humping doesn't make you.
I'm just thinking.
you don't like
of
a nice dry,
I mean,
sandy.
I'm not 13
blowjob?
either, but brings me back. And it-
Friction.
The premise of the question, I think, throws me off more than anything because I like the implication, I guess, is that it's something that would have ever entered my head. Like I wouldn't say that about wet mixes or dry mixes
No.
so much. Like I
it's
just
an
don't.
abstract question.
I feel like a lot of the advice I give must be probably disappointing to a lot of people because like a lot of it is like it depends and a lot of it is like just basically elaborating on the depends part.
Yep.
Yeah, the underwear for
There's
old
always
people.
the time and place.
Sure.
So
Like,
if you
yeah.
just had to pick one, though, just like
I mean, yeah.
ignorantly, just like blah blah blah.
I seem to have a tendency for dryness,
Let's go.
but
So underrated, he says.
so I say maybe underrated.
I would
Underrated.
definitely
I mean-
say it's definitely underrated.
Yeah,
dry
Agreed.
is underrated.
I will say,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
probably.
subjectively in the DJ culture, kind of that we live in, they are underrated because we would send before we started making more bass music, and me and Dave switched gears. We were making very dry dance club music, like a weird breed of American club that was influenced by like goofy UK shit.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but like
Keg full.
yeah, like really weird wonky 140 house, and we would send it to European.
Homies.
The homies on stream, and they were just like, it's so dry. We're like, obviously it's for the club, but like, and like everybody in chat like couldn't understand. They couldn't wrap their brains around.
Their shit is wet.
It's
real wet.
so wet.
All like a lot of it.
Oh my
is pretty
God.
wet. But
Imanu is like every spare silence gap he gets, it's just
yeah. But
Constantly.
like maybe I feel like the Bristol pocket of like
Yeah.
Slugwife and like the wonky records and stuff and like Inspected. I think they're like London, but I think that
Sure.
I mean, Inspected's got plenty. It was probably almost like 50-50, like dry, wet, Inspected releases. But like
Also, rip Slugwife.
50% everybody.
yeah, rip
Rip
Slugwife.
Hearts.
Slugwife,
Yeah.
the
That's
impression
what we
my-
should rate labels on is their dry wetness.
Yeah.
we give them a percentage rating.
right.
Yeah, we all have little.
40%
Yeah.
wet.
Drenched. That shit's drenched.
And it's not even an opinion; it's just like a guess as
Yeah,
to
it's just-
where the dry wet is set.
Exactly.
100%.
Sorry.
But no, that pocket's in its own unique little house. But most European shit, I mean, Big Room is Big Room. That's it. Just sitting at 50% wet.
How big?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
It's
more
just-
bigger than a room.
Yeah, right. It's just
A lot of the like festival trap in like 2015.
yeah.
Drenched in.
As long as they could send it to the back of the fucking crowd of teenagers,
It's
they
harder
didn't
to
care.
it's harder to have fast like small rhythmic subdivisions with with
Yeah.
a lot of wet
That's-
shit too.
So hard. You
Right.
like can't.
That's why
You
dubstep
can't.
almost exists, is because
You have more time.
right, drum and
space,
bass was
yeah.
like the most popular thing, and then they just like somebody I can't remember exactly like how it happened. I'm kind of like paraphrasing through all my research of how dubstep began, but
Sure.
basically as a reflection
It was
of what
Skrillex,
drum and
right?
bass was. All right. As a result of what drum and bass was at the time, dubstep was kind of born for this need for this slower, more spatial subculture, and fucking dubstep fucking delivers. Like the fucking 2006 dubstep wars on BBC Radio 1, like they definitely like every
Dubstep
song
wars.
is like
Let's
50% wet. Every song is just the wettest shit, but it's so good.
Yeah, I personally underutilize like reverb.
Yeah, the
like,
balance is so hard.
all the time. A little bit reverb I underutilize. Where like I think because almost as an exercise that I just sort of take too far, like to like try and have the composition be as ideal as possible, because that's like the order of operations in my brain is that, and then reverb comes way later where it sort of ends up like not necessarily being, I mean, I guess it is optional, but where it just may or may not happen all the time. But because sometimes I think a little bit of reverb could be the missing thing that I am depriving myself of by being a dry boy.
Sure.
Dry boy gang.
The best way that I've come back from my dry boyness,
Your dry boy era.
is making dubstep. Not like necessarily dubstep that I'm going to try and
spring
release,
reverb.
but just I wish
Specifically
I need
like
a good
deep
spring.
dub,
I don't
though,
have a
right?
good spring right now.
I use delays a lot. I don't
Yes.
know how much that counts though.
It counts.
About
It does.
Wet. It is a little wet, but it's like delays are half as wet as reverb.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe less.
but
like an
Depending
eighth is
on
wet,
what moment in this
16th
track
is
you're
wet.
talking about.
Yeah, it does make because it sort of has the, I guess, almost creates the illusion of things like spreading in time, like
Yeah.
sort of
Well,
stretching in time.
That's
almost,
interesting.
what it does is
Yeah.
it enables depth,
Uh-huh.
like almost immediately, and bigger depth than just quiet and loud.
Like big grains.
Right.
It's almost like really
Right.
big grains. Really.
Yeah. With a big bunch of space in between each grain.
Are you you do a delay? Are you doing like, I assume like a parallel, like some sort of rack scenario going on?
Yeah, whenever I do anything dry wet, I usually have like in parallel, I'll have a dry and then a wet. Like
Yep.
it's almost routine where like I like very rarely just throw in a reverb and then play with the dry wet knob. I pretty much like most of the time set it to 100 and put it in a rack and put it in parallel, like just in case I want to do other, most of the time I probably don't do other shit, and it's totally unnecessary for me to do that, but I do that just so I have the option, I guess, at any point after the fact to like
Control
I fully
G, dude.
understand.
Like,
Control
do some
G's and-
interesting
I always
shit.
want to put like an EQ before things like a delay or
Before and
whatever.
after.
Yeah,
I
or
like that.
and after and some saturation.
I have a little utility rack
Okay.
that I made where, because in Ableton 11 they made it so that you can like when you reduce the number of macros to a certain point, it like
it
gets
goes down to
bigger,
one
Gets the
knob.
big
and then it's just
knob.
one big knob.
Yeah, I saw
And I
that.
just changed the ceiling to 0. So like
Okay.
I do Control F Keota UTI and then I hit enter twice to get it in. There's also like I also type in like KHS, like kilohertz trans.
Yeah, me too. I do that
kilohertz
exactly.
trans, and I'm like
every time.
every
time. It's so funny.
What I forget if there's any other ones like that, but
Utility. I always type
Yeah,
UTI.
UTI. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just gotta give myself UTI real quick.
yeah.
I guess what I'm asking is what else are you putting on that delay chain?
Not
Often.
usually not that. The way I play with delay, and have fun with it is usually just by putting whatever it is into it. Like it's usually just only a small sliver of like a sound or like a vocal, where I'll send the input basically for like not very long, like a quarter note or an eighth or something like that, and I just play with the feedback on that like little sweet spot, like so it doesn't start to get too loud, and I'll like
Like a really fast reverb or fast echo delay.
No, like longer ones, like a pa 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 pa.
Okay.
Pa, pa. I'm doing a dotted rhythm, even though there's no context.
I
so-
was also hearing a dotted rhythm. Like that.
I heard a straight
Hilarious.
rhythm.
Hilarious.
But like in that context, I'll play with the feedback amount, and the resonance and the filter position. I'll just like record it for like 32 bars or 64 bars, and like, and I definitely don't. Like, I'm sure that a lot of the inspiration from this is just like passively absorbing like sort of dub techniques that like we often hear in like dubstep and whatever. Cause like I really like sounds like that because they can just carry things along in a way that like sounds really natural and like inoffensive, but it also like before you know it as the listener, the next 8 bars or 16 or 32 or however many is just like totally different, and like certain resonant peaks get pronounced, and like it doesn't really sound like a vocal anymore or bass sound or whatever it's like a thing of, and it can just like and it can, I don't know, I did it in like that with the Chrome tune. I do it in a lot of tunes, honestly. Like it's honestly I definitely do it more than I lean into delays and echoes, like, or I don't know, like, why do they call it that?
I know, right?
I don't know
think
what the
delay,
difference is.
I think it's one's like an analog modulation or model
Oh.
analog modeled.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Well, we have another question here.
yeah.
Oh.
It's from Keota's Mega Goober Fan Club
Whoa.
on Facebook.
Oh, I know those
Mega
guys.
Goober fan club. Let's go,
I'm in there. Subscribed.
dude. Yeah.
If that's what you do.
Who's the real goat? VSTs. Serum, Phaseplant, or Harmer? I like that Harmer's included on
I
this.
know.
Harm-
A little
yeah,
third
that's
party
cool.
thrown
It
in.
makes me happy.
They win points.
You need the third party. You need the third party. It helps weigh the other two.
Yes. Yeah. Harmer is really cool. I haven't messed with it to
Same.
such a great extent. I mean, when I was using FL Studio, it was just beyond my comprehension.
Yeah.
Sure. Same.
Yeah.
And it
It
was-
was just scary and weird.
It was only until years later.
Way too many knobs.
So
and
many
nothing's. It doesn't tell you where anything is.
It was only John. It was only really because John, I think, that I even ever fucking played with it ever
Sure.
again. Yeah, and he made like at least one really crazy tune.
Let's go, John.
But
It wasn't Seamlesser. Excuse me.
Oh.
Seamless with a silent R.
Oh, silent, dude.
Seamless, like the YouTuber guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out
You know
Seamless.
him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I learned from him reluctantly.
Same, yeah.
He-
Reluctant.
he
In
had-
person or on YouTube?
on the internet. He seems really nice,
Yeah.
but also I don't know.
He
I don't
also
need to-
doesn't
Maybe a
necessarily-
little bit long-winded or something.
He doesn't deserve any disrespect from me.
No. He seems like a
fair.
fun
I learned
guy.
from him.
He's just a little
He's
abrasive, I think.
He's he's got a sound that.
Yeah.
Seamless is a part of all of our past, says Restraint.
Yeah.
I love
John
the
said?
fucking I love the weird fucking mycelial fucking network that is all the fucking weird nerdy producer people.
I know, yeah.
Because we're all goddamn we are nerds.
Who's the other guy? The
We are
fucking
Shadowwick?
Swedish guy.
Shadowwick?
No, it's like
Shadowwick, or-
his name's got no vowels and there's X's and there's I think a F in it, and he does like he's Dutch I think because he says
I know who you're talking about. I know
he
who
says
you're
like
talking
instead of saying
don't.
other he would say like utter.
Udder.
The other day.
The other day.
I don't know how to
Okay.
do.
The other
Yeah.
people.
about. I cannot think of his fucking name.
Artifacts.
Artifacts.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
And then there's
okay.
Mr. William.
nice. There's
Slink.
Slink. Yeah.
Slink.
Oh yeah,
The
Slank.
fucking
I don't really
Australian.
watch.
Oh.
I watched him way back in the day, and I mean, he was so good at scratching, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is sick. This isn't really my thing, but I've watched all his other videos, and this was like 2016, and then I fucking kind of moved on. Mr. Bill,
Yeah, obviously, Mr.
What's
Bill.
really fun now is like it's fun, but it's also like super like cringe in a weird way. Like being judgmental, I'm sorry, but there's like the YouTuber producer
Yeah.
personalities.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
not
yeah.
gonna
easy to-
say names, but like
Casting a wide net, like the
Yeah.
normie, but also
Yeah.
like we also need those people too.
we do. We
they,
do.
they
it's-
help bring up the new boys.
Yeah, like I'm so like it's crazy how we change and like our minds and our perspectives sort of change over time because definitely when I was younger, I would be like, no fucking way. If I ever made a tutorial, would it ever be for some idiot losers just starting out? Like, I'm not gonna like, what am I like
Going for the advanced
Explain
kids
how
over
a
here.
compressor works.
But then, like, as I grow older and I start to sort of be, I guess, literally just more of an adult, and then, like, especially, like, entering into the age where, like, plenty of people my age also have kids, I almost feel like, in a way, like, among many other switches that flipped, like, there was one of them where I basically just feel like I could, I feel like I obligated almost, or like a duty to give back and to make things easier for people. But
and to like make sure that people don't get caught by charlatans. It's like oh fuck, guys, there's a bunch of crazy info out there. Okay,
so but like I guess I brought that up because as I grow older, I have more appreciation for the normie content because
same.
because it's like it has its place. It's not for me and whatever, but like that's because I don't need it. But like there's plenty of people who do, and it's great because then I don't have to make content like that. I can just send people links, like hey, like Andrew
this
Klein
guy's
did
fucking
it.
awesome for this.
Moon Boy did it. They taught you how to make the dubstep wub. Like
I see
Excellent
some
sound.
good little channels popping up though. There's like panorama or I don't know, something mastering
Paranoisia sound.
It's I don't know what the fucking
is it a
name
Dutch
of it
guy?
is. I don't know.
Oh,
Nice. No idea. He's white, probably American. He seems American.
if
maybe.
he seems American, it's not the guy. This guy's not an American.
But he does a bunch of mastering and mixing and mastering videos with a bunch of details about things. And it feels like he's giving the info as he has it, which feels nice.
Yeah.
There's like a few of these ones that have been popping up on my YouTube recently, and I'm like, interesting. There's a little bit
I think
I know
more
you're talking about
sturdy stuff coming out these days.
I feel like as you get farther along the road of existing and also being a music producer, it gets easier to suss out YouTube videos pretty quickly.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
Isn't that a fun
there's
era?
Yeah, but there are some that just like continue to deliver, and I feel like they know what the internet algorithm is, and they just refuse to conform. Like there's like it starts with a U, but it's like not UKF. It's like some other U, but it's like something.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Academy.
Yeah.
And he'll put out
The D&B thing, right?
Yeah, he'll put out like a serum preset or Phaseplant preset like every day, and they're like 7 minutes long, and it's a recreation of a one in some famous song that somebody on their Twitter asked for or whatever. And it's always like 90% there, and you're like, this is enough for me to like get an idea of just what people were doing synthesize wise, or just like I like those just quick and dirty. Here's a sound. And you're like, cool, I'm gonna make this in Phaseplant instead to fucking just have fun and then go off on a tangent. Like there's so much room for like spreading of wings with tutorials like that. Like we can't have enough of those. Those are great because you could just go on a binge. And fucking watch 70 hours of just
Tom,
7 minutes.
How often are you
tutorials.
watching like tutorial type shit?
Periodically, like I won't for like many months, like 6 months to a year, and then I'll like go really ham. Sometimes literally I'll watch one tutorial that's so good that like I don't like feel compelled to watch another for a long time because
You're like, oh.
Well, because like if
You're digesting.
like when I first subscribed to Cone Sound's Patreon.
Oh, nice.
I think I watched one video, and it was like basically them using like Simpler and putting basses in it, which that's
a good one.
I had never done successfully. I had used Sampler, but like not sort of as like a instrument that's active in the arrangement, but like I would just use it for sound design. I'd poop little bits out, or I would be like really manually like like taking bass because I used to work with audio more than nowadays, and I would like scrub through the audio like with Command and Shift or Control and Shift. And Alt or Option maybe to go off the grid, but like
Command. Are you a Mac?
No.
Sorry.
I just like I'm fluent, or I just try and bridge the gap.
Okay,
because a lot of people be using that.
Good for you.
But Yeah, because not in the clip window. Because I feel like a lot of Ableton users don't scrub like the audio itself, and they do it in the clip. They actually do it in the clip. But like I scrub on the audio. I think just because I came from FL, and it's I think the same.
I'm a audio scrubber as well.
Yeah,
Same.
I like it.
Which
but, yeah.
you'll like Bitwig for sure. Then.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so whenever I was used, like, I never knew. It was always a fucking mystery to me because, like, all the UK dudes just, like, it was not fucking anywhere I seen on the internet, like, had them, like a like those kind of basses and, like, or even just, like, how is the sound cohesive and coherent, and yet it evolves, and it's so cool. Like, not that that's the only way, like, putting it in something like a sampler or simpler or Phaseplant sampler. But like a lot of the type of sound I'm talking about specifically was done this way, and it was a mystery to me for forever. And then the pandemic happened, and then all the UK dudes who did it needed money, so then they started to share it.
Everyone started streaming and making YouTube videos.
That is kind of what happened. I mean, think about that.
That's so funny.
I have
in America, we share.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, finally, I've definitely heard there was some dark ages where people just were super egotistic, and they were just like, "No, I'm not sure my tricks would do."
I don't know if that was in America. I mean, it was definitely.
Okay. Well, I can't say.
America's widely known for its sharing.
Oh well. I'm not saying
I'm kidding.
Are we talking about sharing of bombs or sharing of...
There's a lot. There's a lot going around. There's a lot going around.
Yeah, enforcing or spreading democracy.
This country,
it's going to be safer.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop a bunch of UHVs and everyone.
It's Barack Obama's job. Oh, come on. He used to spend 5 full years at the nail salon.
Hey.
So your answer is Phaseplant.
Wrap it back.
Oh my God, that's
the
right.
most.
Yeah,
I use Phaseplant the most, and then I'm downer.
I'm
Phaseplant.
Phaseplant.
This is good.
Oh, yeah.
On a scale of 1 to good, it was.
Faceplant's the shit, dude.
Yeah, I like Phaseplant.
I love Phaseplant.
All right.
All right. Closing statements or what?
Closing.
Quick review of what we've learned today.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We learned about lighting.
Lighting's cool.
did.
Yeah.
Bo Burnham's cool.
Bo Burnham is very cool.
We learned about drums and nonlinear plugins.
Dry stuff.
We learned about snares and save as.
Yeah.
That's the move.
There it is.
The save as move.
I don't have enough hard drive space for that. We talked about space composition and arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
We need.
We also talked about width. We talked about Phaseplant a lot of times.
Quite a bit.
Yep.
PP.
PP all day. We talked about the Bitwig sale. Get it for $200 right now. 10-year subscription.
$200
out of control. I almost want to just buy it. So I have.
know. I was thinking that we could do that.
It'll probably save me money. Different edits for your songs, like a club edit, a dry edit, no drums edit.
Dude, that's a good move. And then you get VIPs to play out live.
Yeah,
come on.
VIPs are the best. That's the beauty of playing out live.
I've never made a VIP before. Have you guys made a VIP?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't played out enough to
fun.
like make a VIP, so I don't have like
Same.
all my songs are VIPs. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I guess technically.
we haven't released shit.
Yeah, they're all VIPs. Also, pockets of phrasing.
Yep.
Oh, the pocket.
Oh,
you gotta
yeah.
have pockets.
Pockets full of phrasing,
Pocket
dude.
phrases.
And that's 157. Tom,
Wow.
Keota, where can people find you on the internet?
You can check me out at keota-tunes.net, or you could also type in keota.us and it will redirect. It'll just take longer. And I got a Patreon. I think it's patreon.com/Keota. I post like 4 to 8 videos a month, and then I'll also sometimes do racks. It's nothing. I mean, well, like, I don't mean that it's nothing. I mean it like I chose the most, like, killing as many birds with as few stones, and like I basically am doing lessons and streaming at the same time, and then that, like, but it's like for free, like it can be. Like nobody needs to be subscribed to my Patreon to take a lesson with me under that setting. But the catch, I guess, is that it's live streamed and then it gets uploaded to my Patreon, and then I make chapters. That's literally the most effort that goes into it, is just making chapters. But I'm not like editing.
Yeah.
I'm not editing 8 videos a month. Like I chose this way. It came to me and I'm like, this seems like realistic.
I mean,
and
chapters
I love
is
that.
a lot.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's sick.
And
y'all can get lessons as well.
And also,
Hit up
homie's
Keota
got
for
some
lessons.
extra shirts from
I
his
got
show.
I got shirts on the internet. You should buy them with your money if you can afford it.
yeah.
That'd be tight.
Keota
I got one.
US.
Triangle of well, you know how it's like you can only pick 2 out of 3 things. I feel like merchandise, it's like it can either be ethically made, fashionable, or and cheap, but not all 3 or something like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
This
That whole
is,
thing.
you know, I went ethical and fashionable. It sucks that we live in an economy and they, you know, that like in order for something to be made where there's not some fucking horrific exploitation going on, is like it just is going to cost people like an amount of money that has them go, what the heck? But I don't know, because I don't buy stuff. So like, because there's plenty of people that tell me that my merch, they're like, oh yeah, when I go to see freaking,
It's not that expensive.
yeah, it's 45
No,
for a
it's
t-shirt,
pretty
55
average.
for a long
That's not
sleeve,
expensive.
That's fine.
and I got 30
That's
for
normal.
a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be a
pretty
normal
average.
price.
Especially if
yeah.
it's
I'm thinking you're probably not getting quite the margin that a lot
No.
of people are getting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would
You
have
could
to
go
sell
65.
so fucking many. I would have to just become shirt man, and if I wanted to make like
It's not totally the point. Is the money.
yeah, no, exactly, yeah.
Really,
There
the
you
exposure
go.
is very nice.
Exposure, yes,
Also, like,
unless it's indecent.
what's better than having a shirt of an artist that you like?
Yes, exactly.
That you wear around, and people are like, "Oh, what's up with that?"
It's
and
the
then you're
best.
like,
It is. Yes,
"It's these people,
a means
and
of
they're
support.
fucking awesome."
Yep. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah!
Well, dude, thank
That's
you
what
for
I'm
being
gonna be
on.
doing.
Thanks for having me.
It was so
on.
much fun.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I liked it, and I was honestly scared at first because just I had too much caffeine. I wasn't afraid of anything. I was just scared,
Yeah.
and then it went
you're
away.
all riled up and just.
Yeah.
I'm glad
It's
it went
nothing
away.
we haven't seen before. Trust.
No.
No.
You were a champ.
You're gonna have to tell me.
yeah.
Oh, we will.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 156? 57?
Oh yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Love you guys.
Go check out Keota's music. It's fucked up and insane. Go listen. It's fucked up.
It'll make you happy.
It'll make you so happy.